Hello there! Before I sit down and watch this new video of the webcomic release, there are some things that I need to attach to it. Most of you have already actually seen this video. Some of you haven't. And those of you who have seen the video before might be wondering, why am I uploading it again? I mean, I've already seen it. Why should I watch it again? The explanation is rather interesting. When you make videos like this, there's something known as fair use. In case you are not familiar with fair use, it's basically where what kind of copyrighted material are you allowed to use for the sake of critiquing, for the sake of parodying and stuff like that. Because my show falls into the category of educational videos and critique, I'm allowed to use most of the material that I use in my videos. Except for one thing apparently, and that is to use the full name and the face of the people who create these things that I review. This is in fact only because of YouTube's laws, and I am in fact in every other law allowed to do so, but nevertheless. I already uploaded the video and I had the face and the full name of the creator of this comic, Luraiokun, as we will now call him. And I eventually got a complaint from YouTube that said that I had 48 hours to take down my video, otherwise they would deactivate it. And I was like, fuck no, I'm not going to do that. I'm allowed to have this guy up. But apparently I wasn't, according to YouTube's weird laws. So there's that. Okay, fine, fair game. But the problem is that this is obviously the creator of this comic who contacted YouTube and asked them to take the video down. As you will find out in this video, Luraiokun here is a thief. He is a guy who steals other people's art and makes money out of it. And that is illegal. So yeah, in every sense of the word, he's a thief. And he's using rules to protect himself despite fucking with the rules at every chance he gets. So I'm going to re-upload this now, and you might see some little things where I have covered his face up and where I have talked over the video to block out his name. So just so you guys can still see the video and so you can see just how much of a dirtbag this guy is. Normally, I'm not the kind of person who attacks the creators of these comics. Like, I may say that I personally think that the things that you do are despicable, or I might say that the work you do is bad and you're not a great, awful artist or something like that. That's my personal belief, and if you don't think that, well, fine. Who cares about what I think, right? And with that, just, you know, enjoy the video and sorry for the inconvenience. Just know that this guy is an asshole and have fun with the video. Welcome to season 4.
my future in control. My lovers, my team, and dreaming in between. I hear the future is calling me. Yeah, you know my love goes on forever and ever and ever. You know my love goes on forever and ever and ever. You know my love goes on forever and ever and ever. I said no. I said no.
Fuck! Two Kinds is a popular webcomic made by Tom Fishback. The comic follows Trace, who's an amnesiac who tries to find out who he is and regain his memory. At the same time, he meets Flora, the furry tiger woman, and hilarity. What was that? No, what? We're not reviewing Two Kinds again? I just kind of assumed that was a thing by now. We start off every even-numbered season with a review of Two Kinds. Fans are like the best thing in the world, if you ask me. It's so nice to have people cheering you on and pushing you forward. But then there's the bad side of fans. The crazy fans. The ones that have a small altar of you with a petri dish with all your scabs and toe clippings scattered within.
Some crack, man. Some crack. Man, I love to get high.
Yep, just gonna sit back and let you guys sit with that image for a while. Today's offer is one of such crazy fans. Meet Chucklefuck McSteelypants, or as he's better known as, Luraiokun. Luraiokun here is a French fan of the webcomic Two Kinds, whose adoration for the comic seems to have taken a few steps out of, where it's actually healthy. At some point during 2009, Luraiokun found Two Kinds and it was love at first sight, and not long passed before he fell in love with Flora. Now, you know those My Little Pony fans who honest to God think they're in a relationship with the My Little Pony characters, or wanna stick stuff into Fluttershy's ass. Well, that fascination isn't limited to just My Little Pony, it would seem, as Luraiokun quickly just decided that he was now Flora's brother. Innocent and cute enough, right? But eventually, the harmless obsession with Flora took a turn for the worse, as Luraiokun began spamming the Two Kinds forums and IRC chats with more and more sexual images of him and Flora. This continued until everyone else on the forum were kinda creeped out by him and wanted him out. Now, if you've been a long-running viewer of my show, you know who Flora is. Flora is this bland, boring character that the hero Trace from Two Kinds fall in love with. And not only Trace, but a bunch of the comic's readers too fell in love with Flora. Strangely enough, however, Luraiokun didn't want to stick his dick inside Flora like so many other readers, but instead just continued stating that he was her brother. Which made all the sexual drawings that much more crazy and scary. And more people started getting the same mindset, that it was kinda, shall we say, fucking disgusting. Especially cause over time Luraiokun started commissioning other artists as well to draw him having sex with Flora, or her having sex with him. Trust me, there's a difference and you don't want to know what that is. But alas, Lillie saw nothing wrong with this, cause after all, tigers are known to fuck their family in real life too. For once, you'll have to forgive me for not doing my research on this. I simply don't want to find out. I'm living in blissful ignorance and I hope to continue doing so. So, getting tired of being wrongfully accused of having incest with a character, he replaced Flora with a blonde character known as Marie. You'll be happy to know that Marie was just Flora with blonde hair. It even went to the extent of Luraiokun just altering a hair color of his old drawings of him and Flora having sex. Obviously, people didn't exactly fall for it, and so instead he just, you know, said fuck it, threw his hands up in the air, and created a new version of Flora and gave her glasses. And what did he call her? You're honestly gonna think that I'm fucking with you when I say this. You ready? Her name is Fauna. Get it? Because Flora and Fauna? I wish I could say that this was dumb, but there's kind of a clever twist just to how dumb this is. Now, to finish this off, Luraiokun kept trying to push this pairing onto Tom Fishback, the creator of Two Kinds and Markiplier's brother, but obviously kept being shut down. So Luraiokun figured he'd pull a bender.
I'm gonna go build my own theme park with blackjack and hookers.
And recreated the entire Two Kinds website, with the only difference being his character added to the character selection and the banner. And while he was at it, he might as well, you know, create his own comic, am I right? And that's why we're here, but before we dive in, there's one thing I need to attach to this. While I was working away on this review, I finally got the Caribbean Blue Volume 3 book that I had helped fund over Kickstarter. I flip through the thing and I get to the always interesting page in the back that explains who Nikoni wished to thank. And lo and behold, a familiar name popped up. Almost right next to an even more familiar name. To see a guy who made a thing being credited on the very same page as a dude who's blatantly stealing his stuff is like watching Superman and Lex Luthor tag teaming Batman. It's fucking weird. This is garbage. This is ass. Sorry. This is raw cold shit. It's like a tickle in the back of my throat, I swear. This is what happens when you let bad fanfic writers loose on a previously constructed world. They will do their hardest to steal everything to their liking while just flat out ignoring or contradicting stuff that's not fitting their new and exciting universe. You have a premise here that without a doubt hasn't had more than half an hour of thought put into it. If you go into this comics archive, you'll... Wait, what? Oh yes! The archive button is not an archive button. It's a random page button. And no, there are no alternative archive button. But like I was about to say, if you read the first 40 pages of this comic, you might remember having seen the exact same thing before in the pinnacle of the most meh comics in the world, Two Kinds. Some dude wakes up with amnesia, unaware about the world around him. He then saves a tiger chick from some baddies where his omnipotent power is very quickly hinted at. And all of this of course takes place in a forest.
What a day for tramping through the woods.
I was gonna say that you might remember this from Two Kinds, but the truth is that even I have trouble remembering just from how bland the comic was. So yeah, not only is the art shamelessly stolen, but so is the story. And not even to the small extent that you can say it's inspired, but rather so much that you gotta give Mr. Fishback major props for not suing this guy's ass. I mean, Luraiokun is even using this comic as a form of advertising for his Patreon, which he uses to make money. And as we can see from Benza here, actual merchandise has been sold, so he is actually breaking laws here. But wouldn't you know it, Luraiokun doesn't know what you're talking about when you make these accusations. I've even heard that if you write on his forum, it will autocorrect when you write Two Kinds. That's fucking disgusting. Let's be fair though, I know it's hard, but bear with me here, but to be fair, there are certain places where this comic deviates from Two Kinds. For example, the fact that our dear hero here, Luraiokun, apparently used to be a human. Or maybe he was a different furry. Maybe he was a pinecone. The reason I say it like that is because, well, we are never told or shown or even remotely explained to us. Oh, don't get me wrong, this shit gets explained to Fauna here, but us, the readers, not at all. Luraiokun just goes to explain his situation and then the comic just moves on to after his explanation, like we the readers already know what the deal is. And if you try and tell me that I can find the information somewhere else on the internet, I will punch you in the face and feel nothing but slightly happy. And maybe a little aroused. Let me paint you a picture here. Luraiyokun's writing and style would make a great school of throw-up in contempt. This is, in no shape or form, good. It's in fact horrible. This comic suffers from a rare case of low writing attention span.
You gotta be a magician to keep a kid's attention more than 2 minutes nowadays.
This fucking thing flips around the subjects constantly. These characters can be talking about A and then suddenly switch over to talk about G, only just to then talk about Q, to then circle all the way back and discuss B before finishing the subject A discussion. And they'll return to their subject A discussion so sudden and awkward that it's like something has just been plucked out of one of their voice bubbles. It gets so confusing and jarring that you got no idea what that one person is referring to when he or she is replying. It's kind of like this. Hey dude, do you want chicken or beef for dinner? No, but I once shoved an entire Power Ranger figure out my nose. You what? Another thing that is just seriously kneecapping this comic and its storytelling is the bane of every writer. Spelling errors.
Holy shit snacks!
There's a bunch of these. Like, we're talking Jackie Deers levels of bad here. So you take that and you mix it together with the horrible way these characters talk to each other and you have something not even a 10-year-old would publish, and the strong belief that the person who made this can spell and even further can't write. Yo! Yeah? Yo, make a comic! How the hell am I supposed to make a comic? I can't write! Didn't stop fucking Les Lindas, now did it! Anyway, it seems like we've actually forgotten to talk about the premise of this comic, and really, what's there to say? If you've read two kinds, it's basically the same. But for the sake of being fair, yes, that actually takes a real effort here, Luraiokun here wakes up and knows next to nothing about what is going on. Fauna decides to, just have Luraiokun follow her cause we have to move the plot forward in some way. In the meantime, an evil entity is out to chase Fauna down, and he looks like a sock puppet. Pro tip, your villain isn't scary if babies wanna suck on him. This dude is Achilles and he wants Fauna because reasons. It's not explained yet, and I can imagine with things moving as they are, it won't be a very good reason once we get it. Oh, and he has a subordinate called Slayer. Slayer. Let me just remind you real quick that a guy above the age of 14 wrote this thing. Anyway, Luraiokun has this necklace and it seems like it has special powers, and he has powers that can take down even the strongest warriors and yada yada yada. Basically, you won't find anything here you wouldn't find in your usual Cartoon Network story. Maybe with the exception being, sexual tension. Boy oh boy is there a lot of sexual tension in this comic. It's almost painful to read. It's so freaking obvious that Luraiokun wants these two characters to bone, and he's really doing his hardest to make Fauna do all the provocative things needed, while Luraiokun is even so confused and awkward, not knowing what to do with himself. Like, suddenly, Fauna just decides to moon him. All of a sudden, she licks him. It's not like she shies away from double entendre either. Or at least I think she is. With the writing and spelling errors being as it is, I might just be making it up. For all we know, this comic might just be the best written fiction known to man, but with the spelling errors, we won't know. I will be honest and say I have my doubts though. A thing we'll be covering more later in the art section is copying something without understanding how it works. I'm going to make a weird comparison and compare this to martial arts. Everyone can do a kata, a series of attacks, blocks and parries, if they just look at it long enough. But only one who has practiced it will understand what every move is used for, and thus understand when to tense your muscles, when to relax, and how to move most efficiently. To anyone else, they can appreciate how cool it looks from the outside and claim to understand what it's all about, but the truth is that you won't know until you've actually studied it. If we take this analogy and keep it in mind as we look at Project Second, you'll see what I mean. Luraiokun has lined up all the ingredients on the table, but he doesn't know what to do with them. He has the evil villain, he has the love interest, he has the hero, he has the powers, and he has a supporting cast. But that's it. The story hops around like a confused puppy, not knowing which direction to go, and when drama eventually happens, he doesn't know what to do with it, and it's immediately resolved. Luraiokun saw Tom Fishback do these things in his comic, and just like a white belt trying a black belt kata, he doesn't know what made the story work. Copying will always come up short on actual hard work. Put that shit on a t-shirt, I'm done, fucking pay me! And so here we are with the main reason why I'm reviewing this comic. The super blatant, obvious and shameless tracing and copying of two kinds. And it's not even done well. Like, even in Incarnate, you could tell somewhat what was going on, and there was at least the hint of being competent, even if it was just a little. I mean, Nick Simmons knew at least a little about drawing before he got started on Incarnate. Luraiokun here... well, you've seen the pictures yourself. It's not as bad as it's just straight up embarrassing. A funny thing that I realized is that I showed this to some of my artistic friends and let them give their input, and they all said the same thing. These characters look like animated corpses. There's no life in the eyes. There's no soul. In fact, it just looks like these characters are trying to peer straight into your soul, and this is not just a single one-off thing. This is applicable with every fucking character. In every fucking frame you see eyes. These characters are just husks feigning emotions. It's like someone is weekend at burnishing it up behind the scenes. Every time it comes to commenting on tracing art, I'm always kinda stuck as to what to say. I mean, you can see it. You don't have to have studied anything to see that this is copy-pasted from two kinds. I suppose I can talk about what happens when you trace a super meh comic. Cause if you trace a super good comic, like Uberquest, Dreamkeeper, Sunstone, whatever, you're going from a 10 down to a 5. Now imagine what you get when you trace a comic that's just barely a 7. Much like this art, it's not pretty. But oh no, maybe I'm just harsh. I mean, maybe Luraiokun can draw. Maybe I'm just being blinded by the obvious tracing. Yeah, that might be it. Let's look at something he made himself. Oh wait, there's the sock puppet dude. Okay, how about the more advanced poses? I mean, he must have made those himself. Oh wait, they're stale and stiff. Okay. How about actions? Nope, bad too. Well, at least the chapter drawings and the drawings made for different events are rather pretty. It's just a shame that they are obviously stolen. Luraiokun is in no way a comic artist, and if he wants to become one, he has a long way to go. His biggest obstacle is, as of now, to learn how to, well, draw his own shit, but also to show stuff. Several times stuff happens, and just like in the writing, you are not told or shown this, and are just meant to assume something happened. My favorite being this picture, where you see Laurelian's tail, and then next he's hurting? Did he hurt his tail? How did he hurt his tail? Did he twist it in an awkward angle? Can you even do that? If so, couldn't you just show the tail being moved in an awkward angle? See, this happens a bunch of times. So, you take this, both in writing and art, and guess who's confused as to what the fuck is going on in this comic?
Bob Kelso.
If I had to give some compliments to this comic, even though it doesn't deserve it cause it's stealing from left to right, it'd be that the backgrounds are, well, surprisingly good, actually. Like, let this dude draw forests and cottages, cause he seems to be doing that quite well. And as of now, I can't see where he should have traced it from. But Lord knows you guys are better at tracking this stuff down than I am. I mean, you've caught this and I didn't. Shame on you, Les Lindas. Shame on you. Really, what's there to say? Everything down to the very designs of these characters are blatantly stolen from other stuff. Most of all from two kinds. The one time that Luraiokun had the chance to make something creative and he made this. I swear to fucking god, this is a fluffy bunny away from being the least intimidating thing in the world. He looks dumb. He looks silly. He looks laughable. Dr. Evil is more intimidating than this guy. This dude makes N. Cortex look like Jason Voorhees. I mean, look at him. His eyebrows are even flying in free air. And his dumb red aura just, disappears without any explanation. And look at this dude. I swear that fucking chin beard looks like it's been glued on. It's like the villains of this comic are just kids trying so hard to be evil.
Timmy, are you still on the computer?
Mom, I'm trying to make a video.
You are spending too much time in this room. Why don't you go outside and play?
I'm trying to fight the government.
One last thing that has been pointed out to me, if you look at this picture in particular, it gets all the more apparent. Everyone has the same hairstyle except for our dear protagonist. Look! How lazy can you be? Would you guys believe me if I said that this guy once claimed his comic was gonna surpass Two Kinds? No? Well, I got some bad news for you. On one hand, I could talk the maddest shit about these characters, and on the other hand, I can just yutz around with it and basically leave it to you to guess. Cause let's be honest here, you know that these characters are raw cold dog shit. It's not hard to make that assumption. Luraiokun has, after all, stolen characters that were super bland, one-dimensional and boring and defied the laws of math in that this time, two negatives doesn't make a positive. If Trace was half of what a good character is, then Luraiokun is a third of that half. Anyone could make a better character. In fact, I have. This is Ben. Ben likes ice cream and porno movies where girls hit each other. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here presenting to you a better character than the protagonist of this comic, and seemingly with more work put into him as well. Will people just soon, for the love of Christ, stop using themselves as a character in a comic? Why are you doing that? Tim Buckley, the creator of Control-Alt-Delete, has admitted that Ethan in his comic was based on him. But that's because Tim had various thoughts and experiences that made the comic what it was when told through Ethan. What about Luraiokun and Luraiokun? Does Luraiokun have anything from Luraiokun that was super essential to put into the story? No? Then why, oh fucking why, are you putting yourself into your comic? You're not Stan Lee! You're not just appearing as a funny little gimmick. No, you're the hero that gets all the bitches.
Enough said.
So Luraiokun, yes, I will insist on running this joke into the fucking ground and then even deeper, is our hero and we know only that he's a clumsy idiot. That's it. We might have been told that, but like I said, the comic just straight up neglected in telling us who he was before we met him. You know what? I just realized. This dude right here is Luraiokun.
I could tell you.
I could tell you all the necessary shit that might make you like this thing, but I won't. Why? Because I have clearly not figured it out yet. But to return to Luraiokun, what a bad fucking name. It doesn't roll on the tongue and it's so easily forgotten. Plus, all things point to this dude coming from our world, and the only people I can think with the name of Luraiokun in our world are people spicing up the original Laura name. So maybe Luraiokun was a girl before he was transformed. I mean, judging from some of the drawings I've seen, that's not unlikely. How do we sum up Luraiokun best? He's the embodiment of someone getting what a hero should be in broad terms, but not understanding why or how or what must come with it. Luraiokun is clumsy and is supposed to be this happy-go-lucky manga hero we all know who suddenly can dish out mad damage. Gee, I have never seen this character before. The problem is that he doesn't have that flaw, that thing that grounds him. Sure, he's clumsy, but fuck me, every poorly written character-inspired protagonist is. But he doesn't have a particular weakness. Even Kale from 30 High has some sort of OCD. It's obviously no question why Tom Fishback didn't want to put Luraiokun in his comic. Luraiokun is just clumsy, confused, and about as exciting as a wall. Not a wall where something happens. Just a wall. Or, well, that's not fair, because you can draw a dick butt on a wall and have a laugh with that. Luraiokun can't even offer that much. Fauna. Okay, I'm just gonna do this and pretend I never reviewed two kinds, cause otherwise I'll just default into saying it's flora over and over again. So with that said, let's review Fauna with a completely fresh and unbiased mindset. Fauna is a horrible garbage character. So what does Fauna have? What does she bring to the table? What's that one thing that's consistent with her character every time that we see her? It's her left and her right boob. Fauna's role in this comic is to be the love interest, the female protagonist. Just like how Luraiokun is supposed to just be a comic protagonist hero dude, so is Fauna the love interest. You could paint a rock with tiger stripes and draw some boobs on it, and the rock would fulfill the same function as Fauna does. Or, well, you'd have to find the particular audience who would find a rock alluring. Trust me, they're out there. The reason why you'd need that is because Fauna also fulfills the role of being the sex object. No, I'm not gonna correct that. She's the sex object. Every goddamn thing with her, no matter how innocent she may look, is made for the purpose of sexing this comic up for the male readers. If Anita Sarkeesian can get her niggas in a twist about video games, seeing what Fauna is doing here would have her rolling around on the ground foaming out of her mouth. And you might say, Riser, isn't that a bit much? I mean, there's been a million other instances with this exact same thing. And you wouldn't be wrong, but you wouldn't be right either. Let me explain. Just to beat a dead cow even more, let's use Mora from Les Lindas as an example. Even Mora had some kind of personality to her. It was a horrendous personality, but it was still there. She was horny, biased, lying, backstabbing, violent, and even more horny, and on top of all this, she was also a sexy character. One that some young men would look at and get turned on by. But at least she had that shady personality. Fauna, well, doesn't. She has nothing to bring to the table other than the sex thing, which is why she's an object rather than a character. A character will mean she has characteristics, something that distinguishes her from everyone else. I'm gonna straight up steal something from Red Letter Media here, and if you like this, go check them out. A thing that more authors should do with their characters is put them through the Plinkett character test. It's a specific test that will help you figure out whether your character is good or not. What you do is you have someone meet the character and then ask them to describe the character to someone else who's never read your story. But you also put some stipulations on them. They may not say what the character looks like, what kind of costume the character is wearing, what profession or what role the character has. The easier the reader can do this, the better a character you have. If we try and apply this to Fauna, we have... No. Frankly, you do this test to any of the characters in Project Second and you'll have little to nothing to go on. Much like the writing and the art, Luraiokun just doesn't understand. He doesn't understand what makes a character great, what makes you relate to a character, what makes a character likable. I think the perfect example of what he's trying to say is this chick here, Arya. Arya is supposed to be this bodyguard or whatever for Fauna. She's wearing all black, has a samurai sword in one hand and magic in the other. All these things are cool, right? I mean, Arya's even crossing her arms in front of her chest and shit, trying to look cool. All the bases are there. We know all of these things to be things we relate to cool stuff. But she's not cool. Why? Because they're not put well together. They are not earned. Arya is supposed to be a badass, but because you're almost shoved away from the comic with how little character she has, you are not allowed to like her, not allowed to cheer for her. Does any of this make sense to you? You can have each individual component and you can put them together as much as you want, but you'll have to put them together well for it to work out well. So yeah, that's all the characters in a nutshell, really. The villainous characters are not scary, intimidating, or anything other. There are typically two ways you can go about a villain. You can make him threatening and scary, make it someone the reader goes, "Oh shit!" once they see him, like Jason from Friday the 13th. You see this guy, you run the opposite direction. You don't try and negotiate with him. This kind of villain is more like a machine rather than anything else. The other villain is the relatable one, and my personal favorite. Huge spoilers for Metal Gear 3 Snake Eater coming up, by the way. Because the comparison I'm going to use here is the boss. Arguably the biggest hero in video game history. She's a villain in the game, but she's doing all of the villainous shit to save the world from a nuclear war. You get why she's doing what she's doing. In fact, you might even support it. The reason why I like this villain so much more is because suddenly it makes you question who the good guy is in all of this. What I'm getting at is that if your villain makes Skeletor look like a legit villain, rethink your fucking villain.
Quiet or I'll turn you into a suitcase!
The premise is a 2. Hey, guess what? It's 2 kinds. And even if it wasn't 2 kinds and 2 kinds was never a thing, hey, guess what? It's still a horrible comic. You've never invested in anything that happens. The dialogue is cringeworthy, and I've seen better plot in freaking math problem texts. The art is a 1. Just like with every other tracing comic out there, no points are awarded to tracers and art thieves. Luraiokun should be fucking ashamed of himself to try and earn money by stealing Tom Fishback's work. There's fan things, there's ripping off, and then there's stealing, and this falls into the last category. The characters are a 2. Luraiokun wants to do this so bad, but at the same time is clearly not putting any effort into these characters. You could personality switch each and every one of these characters and you wouldn't feel a difference. The only thing setting them apart is their appearance and that Luraiokun is hopelessly confused. All in all, the comic's reading experience is a 2. This is what happens when you try and steal from a super bland comic. The end result is not pretty. It's full of evidence that the writer clearly didn't put any effort into this and it's just all around bad. If nothing else, it makes 2 kinds stand out far better in comparison. I will admit that it's kind of unfair that I keep bringing up 2 kinds and talking about it like it's such a bad thing, cause really 2 kinds isn't bad, it's just boring, it's bland. This right here, this is bad. Anyway, I'll see you guys next Webcomic Relief. Take care. Fucking hell. Yeah, the less time I spend on pissing off the Homestuck fans, the better. He sent me 86 mails?
I do. It's funny how you see it. You're vision narrow-minded. I see you try to fake it, but you know it isn't true. You can't do this like I do. I fucking wrote this in my sleep. I fucking wrote this in my sleep.
Guess who's back? Back again. I won't do that. So yeah, season 4, and it's so good to be back, really. So let's just, you know, not waste any more time and just move on, because this is the first Patreon video of of season 4. And we got a new guy here called Luraiokun, or if you prefer, Justin Simmons. Luraiokun has created a military furry graphic novel that's called Yaf. Not Yif, which I thought first, and I was like, oh shit. No, Yaf. And if you go in and check his gallery on his page, which I'm going to link, you will find that this guy is really going balls out when it comes to the design of his military equipment. It's really a joy to see so much enthusiasm put into his works. So really check that out. Next up we got Shannon TJ. I made the mistake of saying that Shannon was the colorist of the Dreamkeepers comics. That's not entirely true, or well, she is a colorist of the Dreamkeepers comics, but it's only certain parts of the comic, and she's part of a team that she calls the Dream Team, which I find is very cute. Shannon also has a comic called Control Freak. There's only one page of it up as of yet, and she's more than welcome to to get some critique. So go in there and tell her what you think. Really, I think it looks interesting. I always love those dystopian future comics. Next up we got Skidd. I don't suppose I need to introduce this guy any more than I already have. Skidd is one of my favorite authors and artists out there, and he really needs all the support you guys can give him. Oh well, not need, he deserves it. Skidd is working on the comic called Uberquest. It's an amazing adventure furry comic that you owe yourself to read. It's almost reaching page 100 now, so maybe something special will happen for page 100. Who knows? Next up we got Alyster Rain. I think that's how you're supposed to pronounce it. Alyster contacted me and we talked a little back and forth. He is making a comic, and the title is kind of a working title. For now we are going to refer to it as Tag. And it's a furry comic set during the French Revolution, where like the lower class fights the upper class, and it's kind of like Romeo and Juliet, but you know, with a different spin to it. It really sounds interesting and a lot more grim and very mature. So really, once that's up, I'll be sure to let you guys know. Next up we got Alix J. Alix J is working on Death's My Bitch. There's already some pages out that I hope you guys have read, but in case you haven't yet, well, now's the time. And she's working on more. She has had a little down period, you know, with school and everything, but is coming back stronger than ever, and from what I can tell from the pictures she showed me, the art has vastly improved. So there's good things ahead. Next up we got CloudyDaze. Cloudy is an amazing guy, but besides that, he also creates some amazing pixel art. You know, an animated pixel art, and he has done a ton of those. If you want to see something that's not, you know, completely new, you can go back and check the Las Lendas video. He did one of the drinking videos for that. He is amazing, and really you should go check him out, because he really needs more, you know, encouragement, because you would be surprised with how little this guy thinks of his own work. Go back him up. Next up we got Shane Asher, and I am so happy to say that Strays of Seraria is finally off the ground, and you can read it now, and it updates every Monday. About fucking time! I've been waiting so long for this comic. He has also set up his own Patreon, and that's what I'm going to link, because from there you can also find his comic. Go check it out! It's superhero furry things. I love it. Next up, there is D Gonzalez, there's Shiv, there's Ghostlight Studio, there's LizzieShiro, and there's David Lillie. If you guys want to be the ones that I talk about here at the end of the show, be it your project or you or whatever you prefer, it's very simple. You just go to the Patreon that's linked here